Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for another round of Comic Corner, and today we're getting into it with Batman vs. Robin issue 3. So, we find out that Batman and Alfred, remember Alfred is currently possessed by pages of Batman and Robin, Batman Superman World's Finest. And, yeah. So Bruce is pretty much pointing out the fact, we probably can't count on the others because they've also probably been possessed. I don't like that Bruce calls them the backup family. I'm like, bit much, but whatever. Let's go back. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tanks. Let's get right into the session of Comic Corner with Batman vs. Robin issue 3 by Mark Waid. So, this story continues where we left off with Batman and Alfred. Alfred, being possessed by Nazar, going to Lazarus Island to, figure out how to stop Damien, figure out exactly what he's doing. Weird line here is that Bruce is going, well, we could ask for help, but, if Superman's there, he might get possessed by Nazar. We can't have that. And, the backup family, which was a weird thing to call everybody, is probably also been stopped. And, truth be told, they have. And then we cut to, Damien, possessed Damien, going through his plan, and he's recruited the rest of the Bat family, or taking them over and give them special, special little magical items. Like Tim has the cloak of Cagliostro, JSA Todd has the trident of Poseidon, and Stephanie has the coup stick of Black Bison. Okay, cool. And Nightwing has the most powerful weapon of them all, the Sword of Sin. I'm like, okay, I like that. And they're now dispatched to engage Batman on Lazarus Island. So, Bruce tells Alfred, dude, you gotta wait here, alright? I love you, Alfred, but you're my dad, and I can't fight whatever's out there and worry about you at the same time. So you stay there. And, we go in, and Damien has already kidnapped his mother, There's a lot of issues to work out there. Kidnapped his mother on the orders of his grandmother, or with help from his grandmother. So, which is all kinds of unhealthy. Like, it's kind of been added that Bruce's mother, Martha, was an Arkham in some stories, but she still seems to be the less weirded out version. Like, it takes the death of Bruce in Crime Alley to make her go crazy. Ain't nothing wrong with Damien's side of the family. They're just weird. Anyway, well, in the forest, Batman engages with Tim, and possessed Tim has a lot to let out. Namely the fact that, as soon as he got a son, he replaced him. He replaced Tim as Robin. And Bruce says, well, I did that because you didn't need me anymore. You were totally capable of being on your own. And this is true from Bruce's perspective, and I think Dick's perspective when that happened. Technically, it was Dick, when he became Batman, that fired Tim from being Robin. And this is sort of the problem with Tim, is that he's never really had a chance to leave the mantle himself. People have sort of forced him out of it, namely for someone else. So he does sort of feel like he was never good enough. But it was never intended, maliciously. It was like, dude, you got this. Damon's a little psychopath. We got to watch him, all right? But, it's something, and Bruce does sort of blame himself for it, that he should have handled that better. He should have looked after Tim better. Meanwhile, Nazar is dealing with Baji, who's in the pages of the book Monkey Island, or the Monkey King, which I'm not reading, whatever. And, apparently, Nazar is looking for someone, and Baji says, I know who you're looking for. He's here on Earth. And there's nothing you can do about it. And he's going to want to say hello. And Damien overhears this. They're like, okay. And apparently all these magical items, all the magical people that they've been kidnapping, have had their essence or whatever trapped into the helmet of Dr. Fate. I'm like, this is crazy. First of all, the helm of Nabu is already ridiculously powerful. All right, now we're pouring more magical power into it. This might be the most powerful magical item in history. All right, so next thing you know, Bruce is engaging with Stephanie Brown, aka Spoiler, and she's like, "I'm the one you fired, the one you kicked off, the one who could have been anything, but you chose not to make me anything." And this is true in its own sense. Bruce's relationship with Stephanie has always been rocky at best. So, for those of you that don't know, Stephanie Brown was Robin for a short period after Tim had quit the role for a bit. And it wasn't quite sure what Bruce's intentions were when he took Stephanie on, but he was very strict with her. Like, look, you get one chance. If you mess that up, you're out. So I think her argument is a bit valid. And Bruce also points out, maybe he wasn't suited to teach her. Maybe he wasn't that set on teaching her. But she's also done great work, quote unquote, up for debate, as Batgirl currently. Granted, she did much better work as Batgirl in the pre-Flashpoint continuity when she followed after Cass. Now she's with Cass, under Barbara's tutelage, and it's all kind of hit and miss. But whatever. If they change the art, I'll go back to that book. Anyway, so Bruce realized, okay, that was part of a setup trap, and he's dealing with Jason. And as we all know, Jason has nothing but issues with Bruce. Like, so, if I was so important to you, why didn't you devote every hour, every minute of your life trying to find? Why didn't you spend every second trying to find me, trying to save me? And Bruce feels like, okay, there might be some merit to that, but Bruce also points out, hey, you were a criminal, you'd become this horrible perversion of everything that I taught you to be. But Bruce also mentions that, hey, maybe that was just an excuse. I just didn't want to face what I turned you into, or what you'd become. This perversion thing, maybe to realize that I'd become the person who creates Joe Chills instead of the person who stops Joe Chills. And Bruce often mentioned that Jason could be anything, and it was very important to turn all that potential in the right direction. And I think Bruce sort of realized that, he kind of didn't with Jason. But at the same time, he also knows that Jason is his own hero, just his own man. But there's always been that issue. Meanwhile, Damien talks to Badgie about who this person that Nazar is looking for. And it turns out he's looking for his son, King Fireball, who, when he comes, is going to wreck Nazar. And what Nazar wants to do is to pretty much enslave everyone on the planet to help him fight him off. And Mother Soul wants to use this as a way to sort of reboot humanity by wiping out all but, 5 people. And I think they're all going to be her family. So she's going to Garden of Eden this. She's going to Noah's Ark this. And what happened when it was just Noah and his daughters? Incest. Anyway. So, before Damien can do anything with this information, he is taken by Nazar, and Porky over there has been taken, and we just keep going. And finally, Bruce comes to the most dangerous one, Dick Grayson, with the Sword of Sin. And I love that Bruce just takes his belt off. Like it's not in the belt, but still a belt. Like he's about to whoop Dick. Love it. So the fight goes on, and what Bruce realizes is that the Sword of Sin is amping up all of his guilt and sorrow and feelings of shame. That's why he's been so hard on himself this whole fight, is because the sword has been making it worse. And Bruce is able to, he actually does something really messed up. He uses Alfred's body as a shield, which also helps snap Dick out of whatever possession he's under for a bit, so Batman can knock him out. And so what happens then is Alfred goes, "Why did you do this?" Master Bruce is like, "You can stop. I know you're not Alfred. I've known since the moment you came through." It turns out Alfred hates oolong tea. Alfred has no granddaughter. And there was no Riddler's Labyrinth. I was like, I was about to say, because I definitely didn't remember hearing that Julia Pennyworth had a child. But anyways, you know what? And you knew enough about Alfred to answer all of my questions, but not enough to contradict me. So I want to know what's going on. And he's not leaving here without his son. And before he falls out, Nazar's little spirit thing leaves Alfred's body. And really, as he says, I am, to an extent, still Alfred. So in other words, his soul was sort of, and body was sort of taken out and then sort of amped up by Nazar. So that's an interesting thing that he could do. And what he's really here to do is like with his last breath. First of all, don't apologize for what you did. I'm just a mere shadow of the actual Alfred Pennyworth. But I want to tell you this right now, is that Damien believes that you blame him for my death. That's not true. I know you. You blame yourself. And I will not allow you to do that. All right? You were on the other side of the world. There was nothing you could have done. All right? Nothing anyone could have done. Nothing anyone could have expected. Actually, the actual superheroes could have saved him. But whatever. Whatever. I guess Barry's off still being butthurt about something. And Zatanna. And Dr. Fate. And Superman. Everyone else was too busy to help. But whatever. He says, like, look, do not deny me my own agency in this. I knew what I signed up for when I decided to help you dress up like a bat and beat people up. I knew this was possibly going to happen to some extent. But you have to let that go. You have to let this guilt go, this shame go. It wasn't your fault. You're not to blame. Let me go and go save Damien. And the comic ends with Bruce putting his cowl back on, stitching himself up, and walking into the darkness of the cave. And that's how the comic ends. Overall, this was fun. This was fun. It was really nice to see Bruce sort of come face to face with any possible shortcomings he felt he had when it came to the Robins. That's always great, whether it be Damien, Dick, Barbara, Steph, Jason, or Tim. It's always nice to see that come through. Seeing exactly what Najjar, why do I not remember his name, wants to do is interesting. Seeing that Damien is also, there's a part of him that is finding this off. So he is trying to sort of figure out exactly what he can exploit and what he can possibly guide his father to help fix this. So that's all nice and dandy. Next is Dark Crisis, issue 6. Oh, this story is wild. This story is wild and flawed in so many ways. But first of all, let's call it the right name. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. Also, real quick. So, yeah. We're coming up here. The Green Lantern Corps talking to Mr. Terrific. Apparently it's a Green Lantern projection. It shorts out. The Black Lantern battery sparks up. They go to shoot it, and we don't know what happens. We just don't know what happens. Meanwhile, on Earth, the plot is progressing, and, it's the heroes versus the Dark Army, which consists of not only just about every supervillain, but big ones like the Spectre, Darkseid, Doomsday. So, yeah, it's not looking good for the heroes. Oh, Necron, too. So, I don't know. I don't know what anyone thinks they're going to do. And Pariah's telling Deathstroke, I need more bodies. I need more. But Deathstroke's like, I'm seeing a lot of this, and I just... Fine, whatever. I'll go kill some more people. All right? So he goes, engages with Beast Boy. And he's finally gotten Beast Boy to snap a bit, because he's gone after not just him, but his family. Deathstroke's kind of enjoying it. And I like it. Not bad, Garfield. To get you to really take this seriously was to shoot you in the face and blow up your home. So, whatever. Teen Titans Beast Boy. Cartoon Teen Titans Beast Boy would never. But anyway. Meanwhile, Pariah's base of operations, this Batman, whose book has yet to come out, The World's Wild Justice League, it'll come out this month. So it's weird that we're doing this now. Is giving everybody the breakdown exactly what they got to do. Green Lantern and Barry have an idea, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the ring, the Green Lantern, we're going to use Hal's ring to connect the other Green Lanterns out there, and then we're going to use Barry's ability to vibrate to our multiverse to get us where we need to be. And it's like, okay, that's cool. So they do it. Green Arrow and Black Canary hold hands because this has been their love story for some reason. I guess, whatever. Yeah, and Pariah meanwhile kills off 5 members of the Justice League. Is that Captain Atom? I know that's Firestorm, Blue Beetle, Booster Gold. Yeah, going through a lot. And remember, these deaths feed this multiverse he's creating, these infinite Earths. So, yeah, it's getting worse. Meanwhile, Black Adam and Mrs. River like, hey, look, this is the stupid machine Pariah used last time. Let's use it, and we're going to try to separate Pariah from the Dark Army. All right? Now, Mrs. River's like, you know what? I'm the 3rd smartest man on the planet. This might be a bit above me. Meanwhile, Jace Fox, I am, the black Batman in New York that I'm not reading, says like, okay, guys, my dad and brother might be the tech geniuses, but I can maybe do something here. So the idea is we have to stop Pariah. Pariah's like, the hell you are stopping me, and he sends a bunch of people after him. Superman goes like, I got this, and he goes to engage Doomsday, the Black Racer, Darkseid, and Necrom. He ain't got this. He ain't got this. Alright, because remember, they're amped up because they're part of the Dark Army. Meanwhile, Yara Flor uses the Lasso of Truth to try to get Pariah to realize that it's not the Dark Army or the Great Darkness that is speaking to him, it's himself. And he realizes, oh no, what have I done? All these people go like, no, you lie! You lie! And he breaks out, and he pretty much has a breakdown. And we go from there, and it's not looking good for John. John has all these flashbacks like, hey, that my dad wanted to really help me make that S my own. And my mom really loved me, said I was the best of both of them. And I can be great, I just have to choose to be. And he's like, this pretty much sounds like John's going to die. I was like, we don't have the courage for that. We don't. So anyway, somehow Mrs. Terrific and Jace fixed the machine. It's like, all right, boom, I guess they hit it, turned it off and back on, we don't know. And they hit Pariah with it, and it takes care of Pariah, and Pariah's like, oh, he's finally free. And it's kind of sad to think this is what happens to Pariah. That, he's in all this to try to get his family back, but I think really what he wanted was to die. Like, he wants to be with his family, but he's cursed to live. And, he doesn't have the courage to kill himself. That's sort of the worst thing. And I hate to say it like the courage to kill himself, but really, that's kind of it. But anyway, he's been let go. So, the good news is, like, hey, we've stopped the Dark Army, presumably. It hasn't stopped. But whatever. So Black Adam goes to save John, but luckily, Dad's here. He stops the punch, and then he and John punch Doomsday like never again Doomsday. And they hug, because the League is back. But there's also a problem. The Dark Army is still going. Who's the center point of it now? Well, it's Deathstroke. And that's how the comic ends. So, ultimately, this story it's alright. It's flawed in a couple ways. But it's not really the single issues itself. There's a lot of great moments here. But a lot of it just isn't handled well. So let's compare this to what it is. Like, so Josh Williams says this is the spiritual successor to Crisis on Infinite Earths. I don't think that's what he's written. I think what he's tried to write here is Infinite Crisis. So Infinite Crisis is the culmination of a bunch of events that happened in the DC universe. Pretty much starting with Identity Crisis, with the death of Sue Dibney, the murder of Sue Dibney, and the reveal that at one point members of the Justice League magically lobotomized Dr. Light and erased Batman's memory. Alright? So that sort of led to everything else going on, as well as Wonder Woman killing Maxwell Lord, a bunch of other stuff going on New Krypton, and really it was the culmination of all those events going on at this time. Crisis on Infinite Earths, so Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, is trying to be a whole bunch of other things without any of the work going to it. So take into the fact that Yara Flor is here. Yara Flor, John Kent, the non-binary Flash, Aqualad, they're here. They're from Future State's Justice League. In other words, they're really here from a story that never got resolved. All right, you look at what's going on with the Titans Academy. Dick Grayson is all of a sudden upset and unwilling to help with, John Kent's idea of a Justice League. All right, why? Why? It's doing that so he can be sad about the attack on Titans Academy. That should have happened in the Titans Academy book, thereby culminating to a broken Nightwing, realizing he has to answer the calls after getting help from Alan Scott with the JSA. The JSA just sort of come out of nowhere in this story, which is kind of weird, but it's just sort of the state of DC Comics at this point. And they want to help the superhero community, like, hey, you're at this low point. We remember how it's done. Let's show you how it's done. And that works out to some extent. We have Pariah going through an almost Wally West Heroes in Crisis-esque moment where he's hit this low point and he's letting all these people die, killing all these people to get his family back. But it's treated with no real sense of pathos or aplomb. Like, he realized, like, oh no, it's fake. We're like, no, you all lie! There's a certain sadness to that that's never really resolved. So one would think that had we done this right, or better, I think right's a bit of an unfair statement, that ideally, had we built this up properly, it would have been Yara Flora with help from Wally West using the Lasso of Truth to talk to Pariah and talk him down from this. To realize, hey, this isn't the Great Darkness, this is you. You've become the very thing that you would never want to be, that you never wanted to be. And Wally was there. Wally was there in Heroes in Crisis. He was also motivated by the same thing, the loss of his family. So that could also work out. But no, that's not there too. John Kent's heroic sacrifice, attempted heroic sacrifice, was really good. That was a great moment. It's possibly the one time I've liked adult John Kent since this whole thing started. But it looked like he was going to die. But there's no room to kill John Kent in this story. There's too much going on. Granted, we did kill Superboy. We did kill Connor Superboy in a Page of Infinite Crisis. So there was room for that. But even Deathstroke feels kind of added on here. Like, the only stories that really have a real impact on the events of Dark Crisis and Infinite Earths is Infinite Frontier. And all that really shows you is the Great Darkness is coming. That's it. And really all you had to do was, read... well, it was still Infinite Frontier too. All you do is read the first issue of Infinite Frontier for that. And then the last issue of Infinite Frontier. There's very little going on between this story that really says you had to read most of Infinite Frontier. Joshua Williamson wants to craft a really big story, and I don't think he realized that putting a crisis event in front of it isn't what makes it work. Like, the idea you can just start with the crisis doesn't quite work anymore. You'd have to build up to it, and the problem is, this is DC's third crisis event. Alright, so, and if you want to count 4, if you want to count Darkseid War, but I wouldn't count Darkseid War. DC Rebirth, with the reveal that Dark Manhattan had done something to the DC Universe. Dark Knight's Metal and Death Metal, Reboot of the Universe. Now we have Dark Crisis on Infinite Earth. So in the span of not even 5 years, maybe a little over 5 years, we've gone through 3 basic reboots. And guess what's even more hilarious? We technically aren't even finished with Doomsday Clock. Because, as we're going to show you, guess who's back? Jeff Johns, the GOAT, sometimes, is back with his new JSA stuff, which I'm really happy for. So, the problem with this story is that it's like 3 stories at once. It's a one-shot, so there's a lot going on that we really aren't going to be able to go into in the same way done the other ways. Like, I could go page by page, but there's way too many pages here. So we're just going to go through it as quickly as possible. We're going to attempt a rapid fire for once in our lives. So anyway. So, we see Helena Wayne here. She makes a bat instead of a snow angel because, it's Helena Wayne of Earth 2. And she talks about how there's this weird person who just keeps showing up, just staring at her, looking like a perv. And as soon as she, blinks, he's gone. Meanwhile, we cut to the JSA. Dr. Fate is like, hey, I can see how many kids you're going to have, where your kids are. Who wants to know? Alan Scott wants to hide the fact that he's still closeted, is not really willing to admit that. However, Adam Smash and Jay Garrett are like, dude, I want to see. And he sees Dr. Fate's like, oh, they're all going to go off somewhere. You ain't going to see him again. And he sees tomorrow the end of the Justice League. And yeah, so kind of crazy. That's crazy. Of course, that's November 22nd, 3022. So who knows? But we see the new Justice Society, and looks cool. Not gonna lie, I like it. New Dr. Fate, love it. New Alan Scott, well, new Torchbearer. Either way, doesn't matter. Dr. Fate's been killed, which seems to be everything about the JSA. The first casualty will be Dr. Fate, which honestly is a good idea. Then we cut to the present, where Khalid Nassour, who is currently the new Dr. Fate, goes with Detective Chimp to the Oblivion Bar to try to figure out exactly what is going on with the Helm of Fate, with Nabu's helmet, because it's a new god in it. And all of a sudden he puts it on, and he sees the future, and yeah, it's not good, not good. Meanwhile, we cut to the past. The Red Lantern burns Navy ship, dozens dead. So I'm like, wait. Red Lantern in that time period? The Red Lanterns then? Then, of course, we see 1951. The JSA is brought before the House American Committee. The Congressional Committee asks them to reveal themselves. Helena Wayne sees the crazy man, goes to stab him. Turns out it's Batman, a.k.a. her dad. It's about time they had the talk. Hey, Helena, I'm Batman. Her response is, does Mom know that you're Batman? And, yes, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's keep going. Meanwhile, at that same time, Dr. Fate is stopping Catwoman, saying, hey, you talk to your daughter. Something crazy's gonna happen. And, she actually messes with the helmet, and a bunch of Dr. Fates die in the Tower of Fate. And she goes, I don't have a daughter. What are you talking about? She does have a daughter. So she goes down like, what have you done to my daughter? Like, oh, you told her? First of all, what are the... Selena goes in, what have you done to my baby? And she's like, you were not supposed to tell her about this, about let alone the fact you've got all these Robins, you know, Stephanie, Damian, and even Joker's son? I must have missed that. It's Jason, isn't it? Super Jason. He's like, look, she stabbed me. And he's like, I will do worse to you if you put a mask and cape on that child. All right? And I'm like, this is, you know, someone who read Earth 2 by James Robinson, New 52. This is entirely different. So, whatever. And apparently, you know, she promised, like he promised her that Helena would never put on a costume, that Helena would never be one of the Robins. I'm like, oh, that is fair. That is fair. And, you know, since she clearly also doesn't know that her mother is Catwoman, so this has always been one huge secret anyway. So I'll give points to New 52's Earth 2 for that one. And, you know, Bruce's like, what's my intention? You know, she stabbed me, middle of the night, I was dressed as Batman, you know, whatever. It's also weird that, you know, Helena never just, like, walked down and saw her dad, or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, then we cut to one of the dumbest things ever. It's April 2nd, 1848, and Corky, who I do not know that well, but already hate him, tries to tell John Wilkes Booth, well, they don't say it's John Wilkes Booth, like, hey, look, you're going to assassinate the president one day, and everyone is just going to hate you, and they're going to be talking about you, the whole world will know who you are, and you're going to blow it as an actor. I mean, that doesn't really tell you not to. If you're someone who wants to be famous, and you tell them, hey, don't do this thing, everyone's going to know you did it, and they'll know about you forever. I'm like, that doesn't help. So Corey's like, yeah, I'm going to change the future for the better. I'm like, no, this is not how you change it. Look, what you do is you help him get his acting career, whatever. Corky, I hate Corky. All right? Anyway, Corky has... Corky's been taken back by the Time Masters, and they say, hey, look, we have to find Dan Dreiberg. All right, Dan Dreiberg, a.k.a. Night Owl from the Watchmen stories, he's still missing, and we have to figure out what's going on. So there were also 13 other people that were released during the events of Flashpoint Beyond, and I guess this is what's leading to everything else happening in this universe. So, whatever, all right. But apparently they were the 13 that were lost before they could be reintegrated back into the 1940s. So the children, apparently 13 sidekicks, were supposed to be put back, and they're just gone. All right, so that's what the Time Master is looking for. I'm like, okay, so that's cool. Then we cut to Marionette and Mime with their baby, and you know we have the Ozymandias fangirl, and she's like, hey, come on, kitty, Babista, but what? Babutis, I'm sorry, I never remember the cat's name. And there's the Dr. Manhattan symbol. Well, it's not what it is, but you get it. Manhattan's waking up in that baby, boop, boop, ba-doop. And meanwhile, later on, and 18 years from now, Helena she gets a message, all right? And in the present day, Dr. Fate and Dead Man are trying to figure out exactly what's going on with the helmet. And then something else happens, and boop, boop, ba-doo, boop, boop, ba-doo, boop, boop, ba-doo. And young Helena Wayne finds out about the death of her father, as she's consoled by a clearly not what I would recognize the JSA as. But that's how the comic ends. So, this was actually, I think, fun. I think it was interesting. This one shot is designed to sort of help us understand exactly where Jeff Johns is going with his JSA after the events of Flashpoint Beyond, as well as what we saw in his Stargirl one shot like a year ago. All right, where I thought we would already have the JSA book, but we didn't, so here we are. So, the question is, these 13 sidekicks have gone missing, and they are affecting the timeline and by default the JSA. So I believe there's 2 books coming out. I think 3. There's going to be one. I think this is the one of them, the one shot that sets everything into motion. There's one for Stargirl, one for just the JSA. So I like this. I like it. I'm going to find out about these missing sidekicks, the age of sidekicks, as well as just a regular book about the JSA. I'm super excited for this. Jeff Johns usually does no wrong. I've heard this, he's not perfect. He has more wins than losses. I think most people remember him for his Green Lantern run. I've heard good things about his Flash. I read some of Flash Rebirth, not all of it. I just got busy. His Green Lantern Rebirth was really good. His Justice League is JSA top tier. Loved it. Got me into the JSA. Loved it. So I'm excited to see him in this. His Aquaman New 52 was really good. I need to revisit that. And let's see here. He gave some of the best Wonder Woman scenes in New 52. Take from that what you will. Anyway, with that in mind, this brings me to a close. If you are new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.